So welcome back, guys, to We Talk Boxing. So this is my post-fight reaction in regards to the fight which took place last night, the main event, I should say, between Josh Taylor versus Echo Esserman. Now, this was a interesting fight and a fight of two halves for those that actually watched the fight on Saturday night. And it just goes to show you have to watch the whole fight sometimes instead of making your assumption of what's potentially going to happen after the first couple of rounds. And that's pretty much what I did, to be fair. I did watch the whole fight, by the way, but yeah, so literally turned the fight on, was watching the first opening rounds of the fight. And initially I just felt Josh Taylor was a different class, different breed. He was far superior, a lot better than Echo Esserman. But Echo Esserman, sorry, obviously must have just needed time to kind of figure out Josh Taylor, to like do what he does, and he came stronger in the latter half of the fight, and that's potentially why he's known as the engine. But yeah, decent fight, decent fight between two guys. Not the best fight you would probably watch all year, but it was a good dust up, and it goes to show sometimes the levels in boxing aren't that too far apart, if you know what I'm trying to say. But anyhow, I've got to give congratulations to Echo Westman. He defeats Josh Taylor. Not a lot of people thought he was going to beat Josh Taylor because Josh Taylor's pedigree, and even myself, to be fair, I thought if Josh Taylor had anything left in the game, I thought he should beat Echo Westerman and do it quite comprehensively, but I was wrong. And for me, Josh Taylor has gotten old overnight, but you can't take away that victory for Echo Westerman because he fought his heart out and he was losing the first half of the fight. I had the same scores in my head. I weren't writing it down or anything, but when I was watching it live, I had the same scores of Carl Frampton after 6 rounds, and that was 5-1 to Josh Taylor. And I just didn't see a way back for Echo Westerman. But as I said, he bit down on his gum shield, persisted, and obviously in the end came out the victor. And that's what you need sometimes in boxing. You can't just stop or give up if you're losing by a significant amount after the first half of the fight. But I felt personally from round one onwards, from round one to round 3 or 4, Josh Taylor was sharp. He was motivated. He looked like the old Josh Taylor, what we've seen previously. He was moving. He was coming forward. He was moving his head. He had a good jab. He was doubling up the jab at times and following off with the right hand. So he looked good. And then something happened, and I think what happened was because Echo Westerman at times was having a little bit of success in the first couple of rounds where he was backing up Josh Taylor to the ropes and then he was catching him with a couple of shots. I think it put Josh Taylor off. Even though he was winning the rounds, it put him off a little bit, and in the second round, Echo caught him with a nice right hand, and it wasn't a big right hand, but it caught him like flush as Josh Taylor was coming in, and then obviously he was backing him up. Echo Weston was backing him up in rounds 3 and 4, but not doing enough to win the rounds. And 5 and 6, Echo was still backing him up, but just not enough for me to say, oh yeah, he deserves to win that round, sort of thing. But the fight changed after 6 rounds. I gave every round after that to Echo Westerman. Literally going into the 12th, I had it 6-5. Echo Westerman obviously recaptured the lead at that point. And then that last round was the round to pretty much win the fight. I personally gave it to Josh Taylor because I just thought maybe he did a little bit more, but again, it's subjective, and obviously the judges gave it to Echo Westerman. So if they would have said it was a draw, I would have been, you know what I mean. I wouldn't have probably screamed robbery, but obviously they gave it to Echo, so fair play. He wins 7-5, and yeah, persistence is the key, and sometimes you do need that engine in boxing, and Echo Westerman is no mug, and Josh Taylor, it was a tough fight for Josh Taylor to come into, because if he wins, he doesn't really get a lot of accolades of saying, "Oh yeah, well you beat an Echo Esserman." A lot of people be like, he's definitely European, but he could be fringe world level. So yeah, you don't get a lot of accolades for beating him, but if you lose, a lot of people now will probably be saying that's it. Now, I don't really like to say a boxer should call it a day, but what I seen in that fight, I think he probably should call it a day, because, as I said, round six he was winning, literally up until round six, 5-1. Literally going into the seventh round, it was all Josh Taylor, but for me, he went old in that fight. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to handle Echo Westerman coming forward and to defending those shots, and um, he just didn't know what to do. So it was quite sad to see, because it looked like the life had been drained out of him, and it's not kind of good to see, because if you're fighting a Echo Westerman and you're getting stuck and you can't adjust and you haven't got that hunger that you once did, then it probably is time to call it a day. Now, it's not a stamina problem, because even though I didn't give Josh Taylor the rounds in the latter part of the fight, he was still going forward, he was still letting his hands off, he was still doing stuff, he was still active in the fight. So I don't think it's a stamina thing. I just think that he just went old overnight, and I think it's probably about time that he probably looks at his career and be like, well, if I can't get past the Echo Westerman, who is definitely European but maybe fringe world level fighter, what good have I got to do in the welterweight scene? Am I going to beat any of the top boys? Now, I know Styles makes fights, and just because he lost against Echo Westerman doesn't mean that he couldn't beat a Brian Norman Jr., because he potentially could, because Styles makes fight. But I think with his past I'd say, five performances for Josh Taylor, ever since that first Catterwall fight, he hasn't been the same fighter. So for me personally, if you haven't been that same fighter since that first Jack Catterwall fight, then yeah, it's probably time to call it a day on your career. But let's wait and see what happens. If he does choose to stick around in boxing, there's still big fights there for Josh Taylor. But if he does call it a day, then I wouldn't be sad or surprised, because, as I said, what I saw in that fight, he just literally went old in the ring and didn't know how to adjust, and that's a sad thing to see when you're a boxer. And I guarantee he would have felt it as well in the ring, and his expression once the scores were read out, and obviously the referee scored it to Echo Westerman, his expression on his face was like, how did I lose? But you there was a shot in the background of his trainer. His trainer didn't look surprised. His trainer knew, and that's why his trainer was pretty much trying to spur him on and motivate him in the corner to say, "Look, go out there and win this round for yourself." Do you know what I mean? Because if he needed to try and motivate Josh Taylor to win that round, because if they would have won that round, it would have been a draw. And then it's one of them. You go back to the curtains and like the drawing board and be like, okay, this is what we need to do next, etc., etc., etc. But he lost. Um, so I just don't know what's left in the tank, and I think when Josh Taylor watches that back, Josh Taylor will know that he lost that fight, because he just didn't do enough from round six onwards, really, in my opinion. So yeah, interesting fight. I'm not gonna do a video in regards to Moses Itauma, but for those that did watch it, it was a very, very good, clinical, accomplished, professional performance from Moses Itauma. The big shot which dropped him in the first round was a massive shot, and I didn't think he was going to get back up. But he was a smart, very experienced fighter, Balogun, because he absorbed the time. He didn't rush up, okay? He absorbed it. He waited till his head was clear, and the referee got to count 8. Then he stood, and he was stable. So the referee allowed it to carry on, and then in the second round, he got dropped with a big right hand again, and that was a vicious shot. How he got back up, I don't know. But again, he absorbed the count. He waited till 8, waited till he was clear in his mind, and then he got back up. And the finish was because he pretty much leapt forward. And as he leapt forward, he just got caught with that right hand coming in. So yeah, that was a big shot for Moses Itauma. Yes, so the world's his oyster now. Moses can pretty much choose who he pretty much wants to go after next. Plenty of heavyweights there for him. Hopefully they build him correctly, and hopefully he stays humble, stays grounded as well. Because I think the last thing we want at this stage is for him to get overconfident, and then yeah, that's the curtains for his career. But these are just my initial thoughts in regards to the fight which took place Saturday night. You guys can let me know your thoughts in regards to my thoughts in this video as well. And as always, please subscribe and comment. Bless.